have my red shirt. I got a bunch of space X.
I gotta do it.
All right, how's everyone doing? Good? Surviving the first 4 weeks of school? Nothing too horrible yet, I hope. So, welcome to week 3. First things first, let's cover some of the updates that we did this past week. For you guys who managed to swing by TEDx Salt Lake City, that was this past Saturday. I hope you had fun. If you saw us there, cool. Hopefully you learned something about our robots. If you went to the talks, that's really cool too. Hope you had a good time. That was one of our outreach events that we always have fun doing this year. So, and we can expect to do it year after year. It's a lot of fun. And just a general update of, because some labs end at 6:05, we're going to kind of do outreach updates and kind of news updates for the first couple minutes to give people time to trail in. So that way, if you're on a team, you're not confused about why we're talking about this project instead of this one, and so on and so forth. But outreach is something that everyone can kind of just breeze through on the slides later if they need to. Some cool news. NASA is doing a live stream / podcast called Challenges of Deep Space Travel. So it's going to be, I think, like a 12-part series of various NASA scientists. About 4 of them actually work for NASA's RMC. They volunteer there. And this thing, the first one was habitats, and this NASA engineer is talking about the difficulties of deep space travel, of how we can get there, that type of stuff. It's every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, so noon. They're about 20 minutes long, so they're pretty cool. I like them. Other cool news. How many of you heard about Pluto in the news recently? Kind of some. That's what we want. That's what we're hoping. The reason I bring this up is because one of the primary authors of this study, Dr. Metzger, he is the co-founder of SwampWorks and one of the co-founders of RMC. So we will actually meet him when we go down there. He's super cool. He knows our team rather well. He was kind of responsible for us winning the Regolith Mechanics Award this past year. So I'm following that quite closely. I love Dr. Metzger. I kind of want to be him when I grow up. Tomorrow, we are doing a small outreach event with a local First Lego League team called the Bionic Porcupines. They're apparently the shit. They know what they're doing. They won a bunch of national competitions, regionals, that type of stuff. And the FFL competition they're doing this year is regards to space. And they thought to themselves, cool, let's 3D print something out of ceramic and out of in-situ material like Martian soil, which is something I'm really interested in. So they found our contact info, and they're going to meet with us tomorrow at 4:30. So if you are interested in either meeting the team or hearing me give a lecture about 3D printing with ceramics, that's going to be at the pit at 4:30 tomorrow. I'll show you where it is and here in a later slide. It won't be very long. Probably, I'd be surprised if it lasts more than half an hour. There's going to be 5 13-year-olds, a couple adults with the team. And I'm just going to talk about why 3D printing ceramics is hard, and why 3D printing with ceramics, especially Martian soil, is even harder. So that's going. And if they move forward, we're going to be working with them. They'll come up with ideas, we'll come up with ideas, and we'll do this hand-in-hand outreach with this First Lego League team, and we see what we can do if we can print something out of our Martian soil that we have. Speaking of the pit, this Friday we're doing a barbecue and pit repair. So if you can be there at 6, you are more than welcome to. We're going to probably spend about an hour-ish raking, leveling out the gravel, filling it up with our material, making sure it looks nice, putting up signage, that type of stuff. And then afterwards we will have a barbecue. Just kind of relax for a while, enjoy the weekend. Just as a general guess or a general idea, how many of you think you can make it or want to make it on Friday? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. I'm going to put my email up here later on, or you could just reply to the Utah Student Robotics email saying you'll be there. But so this is just so I know how many burgers and brats and stuff to get. Obviously, the more people we have, the quicker it goes, and we can also talk about robots, talk about NASA, how we hate homework, all of the above. The most important thing that happened this week, though, or we're saying this last week, was NASA released the rules. They released it last Friday? Last Thursday. The nice thing that they do is they put a big old thing at the very beginning of these are the new rules, the new changes for the competition. So these are, I highly recommend that everyone reads the rules, but they say this is most of it's the same from last year, but this is the new stuff. The big takeaways are it will be inside, which is nice, and the competition arena is smaller. So while we're at the pit this Friday, we might make some modifications to make it more accurate to the actual competition size if we have time. Another good change that they did is they changed the location of the dumping pit. So before it was on one end and now it's on the sidewall. So that's something that people, if you're in autonomy or programming, that's something to take in mind of. The place where we deposit this regolith is in a different location than before. They will note that the size and dimensions of this pit are not static yet. They release the announcement when they are. But so we have a general idea of how big these pits will be, but that might change. So we're going to keep an eye on with NASA to see what's what. But at least we know we're going to be inside. We know the general size of the pit. And we know that the rules from 2018 regarding robot dimensions like height, weight, length, those are the same. Also the same are the rules requiring that we get BP2, the gravel. It's about 20 centimeters down. The BP1 on top is worth no points. So we have to get at least 1 kilogram of BP2. That's something that is exceedingly hard. Only like 2 or 3 teams did it last year. So hopefully we can be one of those teams this year. With that in mind, when you go to your sub-teams later on today, keep in mind that the top material is worth nothing. So if you kind of do brainstorming about various digging systems or driving systems or any of all of the above, we got to figure out a way to mitigate this BP1. What do we have up next? So I told you I'd go where the pit is. This is the student union right down there. If you go pretty much straight north, you'll run into the Headco building, and if to the west is the WBB, the mining building. We have this small gray and red pit right next to the parking lot. It's seen some better days, which is why we're fixing it up on Friday. That's where it is. A fun fact, if we walked over here, like 40 feet, there is our, I hesitate to say our, it's the mining department's new lab for us that we might have access to beginning in October. So we will have our own space for building. It doesn't have air conditioning, so we might actually not move into it quite right away. There's also some other material that's in there that we have to get rid of. But in this general area, we will have our own dedicated space for robotics. And that's courtesy of Dr. Rogers in the mining department, so we're hooked up on that regard. Before I get to what we covered last week, I should point out that we now have access to our Facebook account, Twitter, and Instagram, all of the above. And if you would do us the favor and like and follow these channels, these types of social media, that'd be great. As you can see, we have 26 people following, so yay us. If you talk to Cole later on in the day, you can give you the Twitter, the hashtag, and the Instagram.
Or the woman in the black blazer back there is our social media person. So to give you the things, you search for Utah Robotics or Utah Student Robotics, we should pop up on Twitter and Instagram.
The more we're seeing, the more money we can get. So more people we can get to outreach to talk to us about cool ideas. It's just generally a good idea. Ted, do you want to talk about this or should I?
What are you
talk about the black screen. There we go.
You can go for it if you want.
So if you weren't here last week, we just sort of introduced the team leads again of what.
Who's brand new this week?
Is there anyone new this week?
Should be at least 1 or 2.
We got 1, 2, 3. So for the people that are new, we break this competition up into 3 basic teams. Mechanical, which deals with the mobility system, the wheels. Digging is buckets versus an auger. And the chassis, what we want to do for the chassis design. Then we break up the electrical systems into things like batteries, the battery management system, motors, and the programming of choosing autonomy components, sensors, our operating systems. And if you can be on these teams, except you can be on any of these teams you want, except if you're on mechanical and electrical, it's going to be a lot more work than just being on mechanical. We encourage interdisciplinary team membership, but it is going to be a bit tough to work that out. Thankfully, we're here and we're trying to figure it out with you, so hopefully we can get better as we go along. Last week, we talked about how each team has their own subsystems, like I covered with the digger, the chassis, that type of thing. And then we all broke up into various groups throughout the room and said, come up with cool ideas, do some research, see what you think works, and then we'll come back next week and we'll try and sell what you think is the best idea for your subsystem. If you really like treads, come next week today and tell us why you really like treads for the robot. If you really like ROS using C++ versus coding just in Python, come and talk to John about that this week. So that's what this is going to be. Much less talking of me standing up here, more of you guys talking to your fellow team members and talking to each other and saying, this is what we want to do, here's how we're going to do it, and try and sell it to each other, and we'll find the best way we want to do for this, the best robot we want to make for this prototype will be starting next week or the week after. Ted is our system engineer. I'm not sure if you have anything you want to add at the end of this.
Yeah.
He does.
Thank you, Mr. President. So,
I hope a lot of you got the email about the Google Doc. We've had some issues with our email system. But I kind of looked through today and I saw a lot of good stuff in there. But a couple things I wanted to note. Right now for this stage in the design, let's try to keep it kind of general, but I like that you guys are coming up with a lot of different options. And also a thought I kind of had earlier today regarding the motors. I think kind of later on in the design, I want to have the mechanical team pick the drive motors. That's because mechanical is going to have a much better idea of what the torque requirements are going to be. However, I want to have the electrical team specify what voltage and whether or not they're going to be brushed or brushless. Does that sound good to you two?
Yeah.
And you, third?
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, I think that's all I had to add.
All right, so that's pretty much all we got. Same general design as last week. Mechanicals in that corner with Nathan. Programming with John over there. Electricals up here with Cole. If you're interested in the finances, the outreach, administration, that type of stuff, I will be back in this corner. I'll also be making the rounds, probably my hidden news order.
Or if you're interested in systems, you
Systems.
can talk to me.
Find the Tedster. All right.
Questions? Any questions before we split up? All right.
That looks like a no. All right, Nathan, to your corners.
Hey, you brought N64 controllers.
Yeah, those controllers are back.
Oh,
Are we gonna play Mario Kart?